Beyond Mindfulness: How James Martin Tackles Modern Stress. James Martin enters the conversation about modern stress not to soothe you immediately, but to unsettle you just enough to make you pay attention, because stress is no longer just an inconvenience, it is a warning system that most people are desperately trying to mute instead of understand. We live in a world that teaches us how to cope, how to breathe, how to stay mindful, yet almost never asks why the pressure keeps returning stronger every time we slow down. What if the anxiety you feel isn't a malfunction of your mind, but evidence that something essential in your life is out of alignment? What if stress is not attacking you, but alerting you? James Martin challenges the comforting lie that calm can be engineered through techniques alone, because you can master awareness and still feel empty, you can control your breath and still feel lost, you can quiet the surface and still feel something deeper pulling at you from underneath. Mindfulness teaches you to notice your thoughts, but noticing is not the same as belonging, and this is where modern stress sharpens its edge. When life becomes a sequence of tasks without a story, pressure multiplies silently. The human mind was never designed to live without meaning, without connection to something larger than outcomes and performance. Stress grows when identity becomes dependent on productivity, when worth becomes conditional, when rest feels undeserved. You may think you are overwhelmed because you are doing too much, but often you are overwhelmed because too much of what you do feels disconnected from who you are. Anxiety doesn't just come from busyness, it comes from misalignment. The danger is that stress disguises itself as responsibility. Worry convinces you that staying tense keeps you safe, that anticipating every possible failure gives you control. But the truth is harsher and more freeing at the same time. Worry is often fear pretending to be preparation. The tighter you grip the future, the more your nervous system stays locked in survival mode. Peace does not arrive through domination of life, it arrives through surrender to reality. This is the turning point Martin insists on, because until you recognize what is not yours to carry, stress will keep demanding your attention louder and louder. There is also a hidden violence in pretending you are fine. Forced positivity does not heal stress, it silences it temporarily until it returns with more force. Many people are exhausted not because life is unbearable, but because they are constantly performing calm while suppressing fear. Comparison intensifies this exhaustion. Measuring your insides against everyone else's curated outsides creates a quiet desperation that no amount of mindfulness can erase. Stress thrives in secrecy. It weakens when named honestly. And yet, something begins to change when you stop fighting the message and start listening to it. When stress is no longer treated as an enemy, its volume begins to drop. When you admit limits instead of resenting them, the body starts to soften. Limits are not evidence of failure, they are boundaries designed to protect your humanity. Ignoring them doesn't make you strong, it makes you brittle. Accepting them doesn't make you passive, it makes you grounded. This is where the intensity slowly loosens its grip, where urgency begins to melt into understanding. Because once you stop running from the deeper questions stress raises, you no longer need it to shout. Who are you when productivity pauses? Who are you when control slips? Who are you when nothing needs to be proven? These questions are not meant to frighten you, they are meant to return you to yourself. As the pace slows, something quieter becomes possible. Peace is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you allow. You begin to notice that silence is not empty, it is spacious. That rest is not laziness, it is repair. That stillness does not erase meaning, it reveals it. Stress begins to fade not because your life suddenly becomes easy, but because your relationship with it changes. You stop demanding certainty before you allow yourself to relax. Breathing deepens naturally when nothing is being forced. Thoughts still appear, but they no longer need to be managed. Even uncertainty is allowed to exist without urgency. You realize that you do not have to solve your entire life tonight. The future does not need to be secured in this moment. There is relief in recognizing that you are not alone inside your own mind, that presence itself is enough. The day, with all its weight and noise, has already done what it could. There is nothing left to defend against right now. Nothing left to achieve before rest is permitted. Stress loses its power when it no longer convinces you that you are behind. Right now, you are exactly where you are allowed to be. Calm does not arrive as a reward for effort, it arrives as a consequence of release. And in this quiet space, where urgency dissolves into stillness, peace does not announce itself dramatically. It settles gently, almost unnoticed, like the body remembering something it always knew. You are not required to hold everything together. You are allowed to rest. The mind begins to understand what the body has been waiting for all along, that safety does not come from vigilance, it comes from letting go. Muscles that have been braced for years start to loosen without instruction. The jaw unclenches, the shoulders descend, the breath finds its own rhythm. There is no command to relax here, because relaxation cannot be commanded, it can only be allowed. Stress fades not because it is defeated, but because it is no longer needed. Thoughts may still drift through like distant echoes, unfinished conversations, vague concerns, half-formed plans, but they no longer demand immediate action. They pass the way clouds pass across a night sky, present, yet powerless to disturb the stillness beneath them. You are not required to follow them. You are not required to fix them. Awareness remains, but urgency dissolves. There is a subtle relief in realizing that your worth has never depended on how much you manage to control. You do not become less valuable when you stop striving. You do not disappear when you rest. In fact, something truer begins to surface when effort softens. Stress had convinced you that stillness was dangerous, that slowing down meant falling behind, but now you can sense how false that warning was. Nothing essential is lost in rest. What is unnecessary simply falls away. Time itself feels different here. The future loosens its grip. Tomorrow no longer presses against this moment. The past no longer demands explanation. There is only this quiet unfolding, this gentle awareness of being here without needing to justify it. Even uncertainty feels lighter when it is no longer paired with fear. You may notice how rarely you allow yourself to exist without expectation. How often you are preparing, anticipating, rehearsing. Stress fed on that constant readiness. Now readiness gives way to permission. Permission to pause. Permission to not know. Permission to let the night carry what you no longer need to hold. Breathing deepens further, not because you are trying, but because the body recognizes safety. Each exhale releases something unnamed. Each inhale arrives without effort. The rhythm is slow, steady, forgiving. Nothing needs to be added to this moment to make it complete. And if sleep comes, it comes naturally, without being summoned. If wakefulness lingers, it does so peacefully, without tension. There is no wrong way to be here. Rest is not a destination you reach, it is a state you drift into when resistance ends. The warning has already done its work. The urgency has softened into understanding. What remains is quiet, steady presence. The kind that does not demand attention, but offers shelter. The kind that reminds you, gently and without words, that you are allowed to stop now. Silence deepens, not as an absence, but as a fullness that no longer needs to explain itself. The mind, once trained to scan for danger and deadlines, begins to trust the simplicity of this moment. Nothing is missing. Nothing is about to go wrong. The stillness holds without effort, the way night holds the earth without asking it to stay awake. You may notice a gentle heaviness settling in the body, not the weight of exhaustion, but the comfort of being supported. The surface thoughts lose their edges. Even the ones that remain feel softer, less urgent, as if they too are learning how to rest. There is no problem to solve here, no performance to maintain. The nervous system finally receives the message it has been waiting for, that it can stand down. Stress once believed it had to protect you from everything, from uncertainty, from loss, from the unknown future. Now it understands that protection can also come from trust. From allowing what cannot be controlled to simply be. From releasing the belief that constant alertness equals safety. The body exhales this understanding slowly, patiently, without words. The rhythm of breathing becomes almost unnoticeable, like waves moving in the dark. In and out, steady and calm. Each cycle loosens another layer of tension you didn't realize you were holding. There is no instruction here, no technique to remember. The body remembers on its own what it means to feel safe. Thoughts thin out further, stretching into longer pauses. Awareness remains, but it is gentle, spacious, unforced. You are not watching your mind anymore, you are resting inside it. The difference is subtle, yet profound. Nothing needs to change for this to be enough. Time continues, but it no longer presses. Minutes are no longer counted. The night does not rush you. There is a quiet permission in realizing that rest is not something you must earn at the end of effort, it is something you are allowed to receive simply because you are here. And in this receiving, sleep may arrive like a soft closing of a door, barely noticed, or it may hover nearby, waiting patiently. Either way is fine. The body knows what it needs. The mind no longer needs to supervise. What began as a warning has completed its purpose. The signal has been heard. The urgency has dissolved into calm understanding. Nothing more is required of you now. You can let the night take over from here, holding what remains with the same quiet steadiness that has always been available, even when you forgot to notice it. The space between thoughts widens until even the idea of thinking feels distant. Awareness is still present, but it no longer points outward, no longer scans or evaluates. It simply rests, like a lamp left on in an empty room, offering light without effort. There is a quiet intimacy in this state, a sense of being accompanied by something steady and patient that does not ask for explanation. The body settles more deeply into whatever is supporting it, bed, chair, floor, gravity itself doing its gentle work. Every place where tension once lived begins to soften, not all at once, but in its own time. There is no rush. The nervous system unwinds the way it learned to tighten, gradually, instinctively, without instruction. You may feel a drifting sensation now, a loosening of boundaries, as if the edges of the day are dissolving. The roles you carried, the conversations you replayed, the responsibilities waiting for tomorrow, they all fade into the background. Not because they are unimportant, but because they do not belong to this moment. This moment belongs only to rest. Breath moves quietly, almost invisibly. Each exhale feels like permission. Each inhale feels like acceptance. Nothing is forced. Nothing is withheld. Even the need to understand disappears. Peace does not explain itself. It simply stays. The mind no longer needs to guard against silence. Silence reveals itself as kind, as spacious, as deeply familiar. It feels less like emptiness and more like returning home after a long journey you didn't realize had exhausted you. Here, nothing is demanded. Nothing is missing. If images appear behind closed eyes, they are soft and fleeting, colors without urgency, impressions without story. They pass without attachment. You do not follow them. You do not resist them. You let them come and go, knowing you are not required to do anything with them. Sleep, if it has not already arrived, draws closer now. It does not rush. It does not pull. It simply waits until the last thread of effort loosens. And when it comes, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel natural, inevitable, gentle. And if wakefulness remains just a little longer, that too is safe. Rest is already happening. The body is already repairing. The mind is already quieting. Nothing more needs to happen for this moment to be complete. The warning that once demanded attention has fully transformed into understanding. The message has been received. You listened. That is enough. You can let go now. The space between thoughts widens until even the idea of thinking feels distant. Awareness is still present, but it no longer points outward, no longer scans or evaluates. It simply rests, like a lamp left on in an empty room, offering light without effort. There is a quiet intimacy in this state, a sense of being accompanied by something steady and patient that does not ask for explanation. The body settles more deeply into whatever is supporting it, bed, chair, floor, gravity itself doing its gentle work. Every place where tension once lived begins to soften, not all at once, but in its own time. There is no rush. The nervous system unwinds the way it learned to tighten, gradually, instinctively, without instruction. You may feel a drifting sensation now, a loosening of boundaries, as if the edges of the day are dissolving. The roles you carried, the conversations you replayed, the responsibilities waiting for tomorrow, they all fade into the background. Not because they are unimportant, but because they do not belong to this moment. This moment belongs only to rest. Breath moves quietly, almost invisibly. Each exhale feels like permission. Each inhale feels like acceptance. Nothing is forced. Nothing is withheld. Even the need to understand disappears. Peace does not explain itself. It simply stays. The mind no longer needs to guard against silence. Silence reveals itself as kind, as spacious, as deeply familiar. It feels less like emptiness and more like returning home after a long journey you didn't realize had exhausted you. Here, nothing is demanded. Nothing is missing. If images appear behind closed eyes, they are soft and fleeting colors. Without urgency, impressions without story. They pass without attachment. You do not follow them. You do not resist them. You let them come and go, knowing you are not required to do anything with them. Sleep, if it has not already arrived, draws closer now. It does not rush. It does not pull. It simply waits until the last thread of effort loosens. And when it comes, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel natural, inevitable, gentle. And if wakefulness remains just a little longer, that too is safe. Rest is already happening. The body is already repairing. The mind is already quieting. Nothing more needs to happen for this moment to be complete. The warning that once demanded attention has fully transformed into understanding. The message has been received. You listened. That is enough. You can let go now. The quiet remains, steady and unbroken, like a wide, open field under a night sky. There is no edge to reach, no end to arrive at. The mind no longer looks for signals or instructions. It simply floats, held by the rhythm of breath and the certainty that nothing is being asked of you. Even the idea of effort feels distant now. The muscles remember how to rest without permission. The heart settles into a calm, even tempo. The body trusts this stillness, recognizing it as familiar, as safe. It has been here before, long before the world taught it to hurry. Thought dissolves into sensation, and sensation dissolves into ease. There is no need to label what is happening. Naming belongs to waking hours. Here, experience is soft and wordless. If a thought arises, it fades before it can form a shape. If a feeling appears, it melts into the background like warmth spreading through water. Time loses its meaning. There is no counting, no tracking, no awareness of passing moments. The night stretches gently, unmeasured and patient. Rest deepens on its own, the way darkness deepens when lights go out, gradually, without announcement. You are no longer holding the day. The day has already released you. What remains is this simple state of being carried. Nothing to improve. Nothing to remember. Nothing to anticipate. And as this calm continues, uninterrupted and complete, there is only one thing left to do, and that is nothing at all. The stillness settles even further, so complete that it feels less like an experience and more like a natural state you briefly forgot was possible. There is no contrast left, no tension to resolve. The mind does not wander because there is nowhere else it needs to go. The body does not shift because it is already comfortable. Everything that needed attention has received it, and everything else has gently fallen away. Breath moves quietly in the background, almost imperceptible, like a tide you trust without watching. The pauses between breaths feel spacious, generous, unhurried. Nothing interrupts them. Nothing urges them forward. The body understands that it is allowed to stay here as long as it needs. Awareness thins into something lighter, softer, less defined. It does not cling to any point. It rests everywhere at once, diffuse and calm. There is no effort to stay awake, and no effort to fall asleep. Either would be fine. The need to choose dissolves. If sleep deepens, it does so smoothly, without edges. If consciousness lingers, it lingers peacefully, without thought. In either case, rest continues beneath everything, steady and uninterrupted. The night holds you without condition. There is nothing left to release, because nothing is being held. Nothing left to understand, because understanding is no longer necessary. The warning has completed its journey. The message has settled into quiet knowing. And now, even these words can fade. The silence knows what to do from here. The quiet remains, gentle and complete, like a deep ocean without waves. Nothing disturbs it. Nothing needs to. The mind has stopped reaching outward, and the body has stopped listening for signals. Everything that once demanded attention has gone silent on its own. There is a sense of drifting now, not away from anything, but deeper into rest. Boundaries soften. The weight of the body feels evenly distributed, supported without effort. Even gravity feels kind. Each moment settles into the next without resistance, without awareness of transition. Breathing continues somewhere far in the background, slow and easy, as if it belongs to the night rather than to you. The pauses are long and comfortable. No thought follows them. No need arises to change them. They simply are. Awareness grows dimmer, like lights lowering in a quiet room. Not gone, just no longer central. Nothing needs to be monitored. Nothing needs to be remembered. The sense of you loosens gently, becoming lighter, less defined, more at ease. If images appear, they are faint and dreamlike, without story or meaning. They dissolve before they can take shape. If nothing appears at all, that is just as perfect. Silence holds everything equally. Rest deepens in layers, each one softer than the last. There is no point at which sleep must arrive. It will come when it comes, or it may already be here. Either way, the body is resting, the mind is resting, and that is enough. Nothing more is required. Nothing more will be asked. You can remain here, drifting, held, and undisturbed, as long as the night allows. The stillness continues without effort, like a gentle current carrying you deeper without movement. There is no sense of direction anymore, only the quiet certainty of being held. The mind no longer forms questions. The body no longer waits for answers. Everything has slowed to the pace of rest itself. Even the awareness of resting begins to fade. There is no observer left watching the calm. Calm simply exists. The edges of experience blur softly, as if the night is folding around you, layer by layer, protecting what remains. Breath is distant now, a quiet rhythm you no longer follow. It happens on its own, steady and unremarkable. The pauses between breaths stretch naturally, uncounted, unmeasured. The body trusts them completely. Thought has thinned to almost nothing. If a fragment appears, it dissolves before it can become a sentence. There is no need to push it away. There is no need to hold it. Everything passes gently, without resistance. Time has no shape here. There is no before or after. No sense of waiting. Only this soft, continuous rest, uninterrupted and complete. The night feels endless in the best possible way, wide enough to contain everything and ask nothing in return. Sleep is no longer something approaching. It is already woven into the silence. Whether awareness remains or fades entirely makes no difference now. Rest has taken over. You do not need to listen anymore. You do not need to follow. You do not need to stay. The quiet will remain, holding you, long after these words have disappeared. The silence stays, unbroken and calm, as if it has always been here waiting for you to arrive. There is no sense of effort left, no trace of urgency. The body rests so deeply that even the idea of movement feels unnecessary. Support is complete. Nothing shifts. Nothing needs to. Breath continues somewhere far away, gentle and slow, like a rhythm the night remembers for you. You are no longer aware of beginning or ending, only of a soft continuity that carries itself. Each moment blends seamlessly into the next without distinction. Awareness fades into a quiet background hum, barely noticeable, barely defined. There is no center to focus on, no edges to hold. Experience becomes smooth and indistinct, like floating without water or air, supported without sensation. The sense of time dissolves entirely now. There is no counting, no tracking, no anticipation. The night feels vast and patient, holding everything without pressure. Rest deepens beyond thought, beyond feeling, into something simple and complete. Nothing is expected of you. Nothing will interrupt this. You are free to sink fully into the quiet. And as everything settles into this gentle stillness, even the need to be aware disappears, leaving only rest, steady and unbroken, carrying you effortlessly through the night. The quiet holds without shifting, without asking for attention. There is no foreground and no background anymore, only a soft, even calm that feels endless. The body rests so completely that it no longer distinguishes between heaviness and lightness. It is simply supported, fully and without question. Breath is barely a sensation now, more like a distant tide than a movement. It arrives and leaves on its own, unobserved, unmeasured. There is no need to follow it. There is no need to remember it. The night carries the rhythm effortlessly. Awareness thins to a gentle glow, then softer still, like a candle dimming until even its light feels unnecessary. Thoughts do not form. Feelings do not ask to be named. Everything that once felt solid loosens into something smooth and quiet. There is no sense of time passing. No moment replaces another. Rest exists all at once, wide and complete. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing pulls you back. The world feels distant, irrelevant, already taken care of. If sleep has not fully arrived, it is close enough that the difference no longer matters. If it has already arrived, these words simply pass through without leaving a trace. Either way, the body and mind remain held in the same steady calm. Nothing needs to happen next. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be done. The night continues, peaceful and undisturbed, and you drift within it, carried quietly, completely, and without effort. The calm does not deepen anymore because it has reached a fullness where depth no longer has meaning. There is nothing beneath this to fall into, nothing above it to reach for. Rest exists evenly, without layers, without movement, without change. The body is so at ease that sensation fades into neutrality. Not numbness, not absence, just a quiet neutrality where nothing calls for attention. The mind no longer forms edges around experience. There is no effort to stay present, and no pull toward sleep. Both have merged into the same soft stillness. Breath continues somewhere beyond awareness, steady and patient, like a background rhythm that does not require listening. The night breathes for you now. The body follows without instruction. There is no narrative left. No inner voice explaining, interpreting, or anticipating. Language itself loosens its grip. Meaning is no longer constructed, it is simply felt as safety, as ease, as permission. Time has fully dissolved. There is no sense of how long this has been happening, or how long it will continue. Duration has no relevance here. Rest is not measured. It simply is. Nothing can intrude on this state. Sounds, if they exist, pass without recognition. Thoughts, if they try to rise, fade before they can take shape. Everything unnecessary has fallen silent. You are no longer holding the night. The night is holding you. And in this holding, there is nothing more to say, nothing more to follow, nothing more to become. The quiet is complete, and it will remain, steady and unbroken, long after awareness drifts away. The stillness stays exactly as it is, without deepening, without fading, perfectly sufficient. There is no curiosity left, no impulse to check, no sense that anything could be missing. Rest has become the default, effortless and complete. The body no longer distinguishes itself from what supports it. Boundaries soften until even the idea of form feels distant. There is no tension, no release, no movement toward anything else. Everything has arrived. Breath continues somewhere beyond notice, a quiet agreement between the body and the night. It happens without awareness, without interruption. Nothing listens for it anymore. Awareness itself becomes unnecessary. It loosens and thins until it blends into the calm it once observed. There is no watcher and nothing to watch. Only ease, uninterrupted. Time is gone now, not slowed, not stretched, simply absent. There is no before, no after, no sense of passing. The night exists as a single, continuous presence, holding everything gently. Nothing can disturb this. Nothing needs to. Nothing will call you back. You remain here, resting without effort, without thought, without edge, carried quietly as the night continues on its own. The quiet endures, steady and without shape, like a deep night sky with no stars to count. There is no attention moving through it, no center from which experience radiates. Rest has become so complete that even the sense of resting has dissolved. The body remains at ease, but even the idea of a body feels distant now. Sensation has softened into neutrality, then into something even simpler, a gentle absence of demand. Nothing aches. Nothing waits. Nothing asks to be noticed. Breath continues, or perhaps it does not, and the difference no longer matters. The rhythm belongs to the night now, not to awareness. There is no listening for it. There is no following. It simply happens, quietly and without significance. Thought has fully let go. There are no fragments, no images, no echoes. Language itself has stepped aside. What remains cannot be described because there is no need to describe it. It is enough as it is. Time has vanished completely. There is no sense of duration, no memory of when this began, no curiosity about when it will end. Rest exists outside of sequence, calm and uninterrupted. Nothing could pull you out of this even if it tried. Nothing needs to. The night holds everything gently, effortlessly, without condition. There is nowhere else to go. There is nothing else to become. Only this quiet remains, vast and unbroken, carrying you softly as awareness drifts away and sleep, deep and complete, takes over entirely. The quiet does not change, because change no longer has a place here. There is no movement forward, no movement back, no sense of direction at all. Rest exists without contrast, smooth and uninterrupted, like a deep, endless night that has no beginning and no edge. There is no awareness of effort, because effort has fully released. No awareness of release either. Even the idea of letting go has disappeared. What remains is simpler than intention, quieter than thought, softer than feeling. It does not need to be noticed in order to exist. The body rests without reference to itself. There is no weight to register, no position to adjust. Support is total and unquestioned. The night carries everything without asking anything in return. Breath continues in its own quiet way, or perhaps it has faded from awareness entirely. Either is fine. Either is the same. Nothing listens. Nothing follows. Nothing responds. Time does not pass here. It does not pause either. It simply has no relevance. There is no waiting, no duration, no sense of arrival. Rest is not happening within time. Time has stepped aside. Nothing can intrude. Nothing can disturb this stillness. Sounds, sensations, even dreams drift through without form, without attachment, without meaning. They leave no trace. There is no need to remain aware. There is no need to drift. There is no need to do anything at all. The night holds you completely now, and it will continue to hold you, quietly and effortlessly, as everything else fades into deep, natural sleep. The stillness stays exactly as it is, not expanding, not contracting, simply remaining. There is no curiosity left to pull attention outward. Nothing asks to be checked. Nothing asks to be confirmed. The state itself is enough. The sense of separation has softened so completely that it no longer matters where you end and the night begins. Support feels infinite, gentle, unquestioned. There is no edge to awareness because awareness itself has thinned into quiet presence, then quieter still. Breath moves somewhere far beyond notice, a silent agreement between life and rest. It no longer signals anything. It no longer anchors anything. It simply happens, free of observation. There is no inner dialogue now, no commentary, no echo of words. Even memory has loosened its grip. The mind is not empty in a dramatic way, it is simply uninterested in forming anything new. Creation has paused naturally. Time has no role here. It does not pass slowly or quickly. It does not pass at all. There is no sequence to follow, no moment replacing another. Rest exists as a single, continuous field, calm and undisturbed. Nothing can pull attention back unless it truly needs to, and nothing needs to. The body is safe. The mind is quiet. The night is steady. You are no longer entering sleep. You are no longer approaching rest. You are already there. And this quiet will continue on its own, without guidance, without words, carrying you gently and completely through the night. The quiet remains, effortless and complete, without needing to be maintained. There is no awareness of holding on, because nothing is being held. There is no sense of drifting, because there is nowhere else to go. Rest has settled into its natural place, steady and unquestioned. The body continues in its own wisdom, repairing, restoring, releasing without instruction. Muscles remain loose. The face stays soft. Even the deepest layers of tension have forgotten how to tighten. Everything functions gently, automatically, as it was meant to. Breath is no longer noticed as movement. It is simply life continuing in the background, calm and reliable. There is no attachment to it, no need to follow its rhythm. It belongs to the night now. Awareness has thinned into something so subtle it barely exists. Not gone, not present, just unnecessary. Nothing needs to be witnessed for rest to continue. Silence holds everything equally. There is no sense of time returning. No hint of tomorrow. No memory of today. The mind does not reach for meaning or explanation. Meaning is no longer needed here. Safety is already known. Nothing interrupts this state because nothing is separate from it. Sounds, sensations, even dreams, if they arise, move through without weight, without story, without consequence. The night continues doing what it has always done. Holding. Resting. Carrying. And you remain within it, fully released, fully supported, as sleep deepens naturally and the quiet stays exactly as it is. The quiet remains, effortless and complete, without needing to be maintained. There is no awareness of holding on, because nothing is being held. There is no sense of drifting, because there is nowhere else to go. Rest has settled into its natural place, steady and unquestioned. The body continues in its own wisdom, repairing, restoring, releasing without instruction. Muscles remain loose. The face stays soft. Even the deepest layers of tension have forgotten how to tighten. Everything functions gently, automatically, as it was meant to. Breath is no longer noticed as movement. It is simply life continuing in the background, calm and reliable. There is no attachment to it, no need to follow its rhythm. It belongs to the night now. Awareness has thinned into something so subtle it barely exists. Not gone, not present, just unnecessary. Nothing needs to be witnessed for rest to continue. Silence holds everything equally. There is no sense of time returning. No hint of tomorrow. No memory of today. The mind does not reach for meaning or explanation. Meaning is no longer needed here. Safety is already known. Nothing interrupts this state because nothing is separate from it. Sounds, sensations, even dreams, if they arise, move through without weight, without story, without consequence. The night continues doing what it has always done. Holding, resting, carrying. And you remain within it. Fully released, fully supported, as sleep deepens naturally and the quiet stays exactly as it is. The quiet remains, effortless and complete, without needing to be maintained. There is no awareness of holding on, because nothing is being held. There is no sense of drifting, because there is nowhere else to go. Rest has settled into its natural place, steady and unquestioned. The body continues in its own wisdom, repairing, restoring, releasing without instruction. Muscles remain loose. The face stays soft. Even the deepest layers of tension have forgotten how to tighten. Everything functions gently, automatically, as it was meant to. Breath is no longer noticed as movement. It is simply life continuing in the background, calm and reliable. There is no attachment to it, no need to follow its rhythm. It belongs to the night now. Awareness has thinned into something so subtle it barely exists. Not gone, not present, just unnecessary. Nothing needs to be witnessed for rest to continue. Silence holds everything equally. There is no sense of time returning. No hint of tomorrow. No memory of today. The mind does not reach for meaning or explanation. Meaning is no longer needed here. Safety is already known. Nothing interrupts this state because nothing is separate from it. Sounds, sensations, even dreams, if they arise, move through without weight, without story, without consequence. The night continues doing what it has always done. Holding, resting, carrying. And you remain within it, fully released, fully supported, as sleep deepens naturally and the quiet stays exactly as it is. The stillness remains unaltered, smooth and uninterrupted, as if it has settled into its final form. There is no sense of progression anymore, no movement toward anything else. Rest is no longer happening, it simply is. The body exists without awareness of itself. Sensation has softened beyond notice, beyond interpretation. There is no comfort to seek because comfort is complete. There is no discomfort to release because nothing is being held. Breath continues or fades from awareness entirely, and either possibility blends into the same quiet neutrality. Life carries on gently beneath the surface, perfectly capable without attention. Nothing needs to be checked. Nothing needs to be guided. The mind has fully let go of structure. No images form. No thoughts gather. No inner voice remains to narrate. Language has dissolved into silence, and silence feels natural, effortless, unremarkable. Time has no reference point here. It does not slow or stop, it simply has no meaning. There is no waiting. There is no duration. Rest exists outside of sequence, complete in itself. Nothing intrudes. Nothing calls you back. Even awareness feels optional now, like something that can drift away without consequence. The night holds everything equally, without preference, without condition. You are not entering sleep. You are not moving deeper. You are simply resting, fully and completely. And this quiet continues on its own, steady and unbroken, long after these words dissolve, long after attention fades, as sleep remains deep, natural, and undisturbed through the night. The quiet remains for a moment longer, steady and complete, like the last breath before dawn. Nothing rushes in. Nothing breaks the calm. And slowly, very gently, awareness returns not as urgency, but as warmth. The kind that reminds you that rest was never an escape from life, but a return to it. What you felt here was not just sleep, it was alignment. Stress softened because it was finally heard. Calm arrived because you stopped demanding it. This is the deeper lesson beneath everything you experienced, that peace does not come from fighting the mind, but from befriending it, that rest is not weakness, but wisdom, and that listening to yourself may be the most powerful act you practice each day. If this moment gave you even a small sense of ease, if something inside you loosened, breathed, or felt understood, carry that with you. Let it remind you tomorrow that you don't need to run faster to feel safe, and you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of peace. Stress will return at times, but now you know it is not an enemy, it is a signal guiding you back to balance. And if this space felt meaningful to you, if these words helped you slow down, feel grounded, or rest more deeply, I invite you to gently support this channel. Like this video so it can reach others who are carrying more than they realize. Share it with someone who needs rest, reassurance, or quiet strength tonight. And subscribe, not just for content, but for a place where intensity turns into understanding, where warnings soften into wisdom, and where you are always allowed to pause, breathe, and return to yourself. Thank you for spending this moment here. There is more calm ahead, more insight to explore, and more nights where you don't have to carry everything alone. Until next time, rest well, live gently, and remember. Peace is not something you chase, it is something you allow.